Hey y'all, here's my assessment of the current uh, political landscape for the presidency. For the Democrats, you got Joe Biden, which he's a corporate puppet aside from health problems. Uh, Not very reliable. He's pretty much going to get walked right over and out on the presidency's debates. So, really a non performer there. That old gal for that's a nominee, she's doesn't really have anything good going for her. And unless you're LGBTQ and pro-abortion, she really didn't have anything of value for anybody. Um, Hate to say it, is what it is. Then you've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and he's an interesting case because out of the three, he's the most likely to succeed as a presidential nominee. Um, Environmentalism is good to a point. We still have to be able to build things, and the questionable nature of modern vaccines is a good question. And if you don't if you if you examine the fact that uh, he is already getting big business smear happening to him, even on like Wikipedia, then you would realize the fellow has some good thoughts. I've kind of trolled through the news media, and what actually comes out of his mouth is fairly decent for the average guy, you know. Um, and he's proven himself with his ability in college to be well thought. Um, and he spent a fairly good chunk of his life looking out for other folks. So that's a good pick on the Democrat side. On the Republican side, honestly, um, old Donald Trump, he needs to pick somebody good and get behind him, because there's no way he's getting out of all the legal scandal. It's just not going to happen. Like I like the guy. He's got a funny personality. He riles up the nasty liberals that most everybody don't like, except for you know the some of the Democrats. Um, and and he was a good president. He was a fantastic president, especially economically and foreign policy wise. And there's things that he's done that nobody even realizes that we're getting benefits from. So Trump is kind of like, you know, he plays the public idiot, but he had a very, very solid group around him, and he did a lot of stuff that was positive while nobody was looking. Okay. And I think it's time for him to say, hey, I need to pick a successor. Out of the, what's it, 16 or 17 candidates or something like that, are nominees alongside him or have nominated himself, there's only two guys that I would prefer. One hasn't nominated himself yet, and that would be the governor out of Virginia. Um, what's his name? Glenn Youngkin. He's on the younger side, um, but he has tried to fulfill all his political promises, and he's gotten pretty far with it, considering. So I think he's a good nominee. And then the other one would be Mr. Burgum out of Arizona, who is a successful businessman and politician, and seems to have somewhat of a public face. Um, Everybody else is pretty much trash. If they've ever been uh, a priest or a pastor in a church or got involved in a ministry, then their platform is going to be based on emotionalism, and that's not healthy. And the other problem with folks from religious circles is, of course, the turning the blind eye to pedophilia and stuff like that that happens commonly in churches. I'm not saying they're all guilty. I'm just saying there's questionable things that happen if you come out of the church sector. Okay. So let's throw them to the side. The other problem is folks like Ron DeSantis. He hasn't helped any of the poor folks in Florida. Okay, I'm a Floridian. He hadn't helped me. Um, the biggest problem being like the with all the unemployment compensation in the state of Florida. He didn't straighten that out in time for COVID. So there's that. And he's a good enough guy. Seems all right. He's just not the man for the job. You know. Um, and then you have like Nikki Haley. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Honestly, I hate to say this. It's going to sound really bigoted. Women aren't well respected typically, and Hillary Clinton ruined it for her. Okay. You get too many loudmouth women, and it doesn't matter who you are as a person. A man is going to shut his brain off. The women will vote for her, okay, maybe, but the men have already turned the brains off on that, and she made too many mistakes in the last campaign. Okay, and then you have like this Scott guy. He seems like a decent enough guy, um, and he could probably do a good job, but he's not well connected enough. And I don't know if he's any smarter than Glenn Youngkin is. Okay, so what we really need, we need a smart fellow who's successful, who has reasonable moral values, and has a good foreign policy, and will fulfill his promises. The biggest issue is fulfill his promises. Okay, we've just had a video go down, Richmond, north of Richmond. All right, there's a reason why that man got 51 million views on YouTube, and God knows how many on iTunes. Before I saw it within 3 weeks. Okay, that's a huge amount of the population. That's not just popular. The whole country is pulling behind that thought, Democrat and Republican. Okay, so as a country, we need to look past the party lines and take a more individual stance and say, hey, I want to pick somebody that's good for me, right? I want to pick somebody that's going to make the average guy some money. I want to pick somebody that's going to watch out for our freedom of speech, that's going to lessen our taxation, that's going to be beneficial to our long-term health and longevity. And in a nutshell, that's what we need. And I hate to say it, this time around, it's not Trump. He's going to have to be the man that picks the Republican. And as far as the Democrat that's running, the only option that we really have is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That's it. So let's think about that a minute, because the independent fellow, I don't think he's going to make it. There's too many big personalities out there. He's going to get ran over. So let's think about that a while.